out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events.
Yes, sir. A little, is it Caribbean Queen or Caribbean Queen?
Oh, no. I think that's always. Well, he says Caribbean.
Which one is it, guys? Is it Caribbean? Not Caribbean. You sure?
Billy Ocean says
All
Caribbean, but I think it's for the point of the song. I like to say Caribbean.
Yeah, okay. All right. I wanted to straighten that out. You know, it's very important before we start our football show here on the NFL Download. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday night. We ain't got too many more left of these. I'm your host, Mac, with my partner in crime, James, the J Train Martin. Of course, he doesn't have J Train up there. I guess he's not going by that anymore after the wreck that was the Saints. So he's not using J Train anymore. And we got, of course, a proper host, Sonia Pearson, with us tonight. Me and her did it last day. We had a lot of fun. And we decided to bring James along and see if we can have as much fun as we had last week, James. All right. So let's see what you can do here with us. All right. So let's talk about the earlier games when Houston beat the Chargers 32-12. Everybody thought the Chargers pretty much was going to win this game. They were favored. And the Houston defense, I think they had, 3 to 5 sacks? I know they had multiple sacks against Herbert. CJ Stroud with a couple big plays, a fumble, picked it up, threw it downfield, broke a 27-yarder to keep the drive alive, and they just manhandled the Chargers. James, my question to you is Herbert really a franchise quarterback?
Yes, I really still think he's a franchise quarterback. I mean, I just think this game showed that they peaked. They maximized their potential with this particular team. I mean, no one expected much out of them from the beginning of the season. At least I didn't. Justin Herbert, he played great his first couple of years in the league, but then obviously a lot of changes with personnel and coaching may have had a lot to do with him digressing some. But I think he has shown that he is still a franchise quarterback. He had 4 interceptions, 4 sacks. But 2 of those interceptions were not his fault. I think if you're in the playoffs, you're pushing to try to get scratching and clawing, trying to get to the next round. You've got to make those catches. And 2 were right in the hands of maybe slightly above the hands of Ladd McConkey, but they were still in his hands, and he let it go to another DB. And then the tight end also just seemed like he just lateraled the ball straight to Derek Stingley. And that you can turnovers. That kills you, especially in playoffs. So, yeah, to answer your question again, to reiterate, I think that Justin Herbert is a franchise quarterback. They just need more pieces.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I still have my doubts about Herbert. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be a franchise quarterback too, and it didn't pan out so far. I let everybody know the Eagles are up 16-10. It looks like they faked a tush push and threw the ball down the field. It's 4th and 1. They're going for it. So we'll see if the Eagles make it. Yeah, they look like they faked the tush push. So I don't know who he faked it to on the ground there. There was a good fake to the ground, and he tried to hit A.J. Brown with a long pass, and it wasn't thrown accurately. So anyway, I guess they do the tush push now for real, and they got it. That's what they should have done the first time. But anyway, so Sonia, how about you with C.J. Stroud going up against that Kansas City Chiefs defense? It seems to me that the Kansas City defense is very underrated. We talk about the Eagle defense, we talk about the Baltimore defense, but when playoffs come around, the Kansas City Chiefs defense shuts teams down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still one of these people that are holding out for Kansas City because I feel like they just have not had the caliber of teams that are on their level to even be competitive. I think that this is one of those things, even though they're the Super Bowl champs, they're supposedly having the more difficult schedule for the following season. I just didn't see it. I mean, I saw a lot of close calls for teams that weren't even Super Bowl caliber that the Chiefs struggled against. And so I think this is very much a winnable game. It's very much a likelihood that C.J. Stroud and his crew could come in there and actually, upset them. I mean, they have Joe Mixon, who is like, very much like Batman and Robin-ish as far as C.J. Stroud goes. And so, I mean, he's been the big key there that has been offensively good for them, and especially going to the postseason. I kind of liken them to how Green Bay was last year. We never saw them coming, and then all of a sudden, there they were in the postseason. But then you got to look at the defense that C.J. Stroud has around him. Will Anderson being that big key to that defense, and going into this type of situation, if you don't want the Chiefs to score, your defense has to be absolutely stellar. So it's not really a situation where I'm concerned about CJ and the Chiefs offense as I am the Texans defense versus the Chiefs offense, if that makes sense. I mean, they have Mario Edwards, Daniel Hunter. I mean, they got a lot of defensive backs over there. Kamari Lassiter. Those people are really big playmakers on that defense, and their depth chart is reflective of that. Even their special teams have made key plays throughout this season that have been a difference in a win or a loss. And I think if you continue to rely on like Xavier Hutchinson on that special teams, as well as Tommy Townsend, and let's not forget Fairbairn, their kicker, he has to really step up. I think this is going to be a different scenario, especially now that they're coming off this win against the Chargers. And I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit this morning. I feel like the Chargers game was more a mental game than an actual physical game. Those guys got a lot going on. The whole world knows about it. And it's one of those situations you just can't help but to kind of, it bleeds over to your performance. And then they're traveling outside of their natural element. It's a difference than being on the road with an away game or what have you, as opposed to this being the playoffs and them supposedly having home field advantage that they did not get a chance to have. I think all of that kind of played a factor into what's going on. And then on top of that, the fact that Justin Herbert had 4 interceptions. That's insane. 4 interceptions in one game, even during the regular season, is astounding to say the least. But to say that in a playoff game where you have to win to stay in is even more. His record, I think, was on like 200 some yards, very low for a postseason game, which is a testament again to the Texas defense.
Well, I mean, last year, everybody said, the Chiefs aren't that good. They're barely winning. They're not going to win the playoffs. They're probably not going to win the Super Bowl. It seems like every postseason they're talking about that, and all they do is end up going to Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. A chance to three-peat. They got Baltimore. I don't think they're going to have a problem with Houston. I'll be honest with you, James. I think the problem is going to become when they play Buffalo or Baltimore. I think that's going to be the tighter, better game, and depending on if Josh Allen or if Jackson cannot throw interceptions, I think that's going to be the determining factor when that happens. But you never know in football, that's for sure. So Baltimore did beat Pittsburgh. Henry runs for 186 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar throws for 2, runs for 86 yards. How is Buffalo going to stop that, James?
Look, both these teams run a similar offense. I mean, they're RPO. You got running style quarterbacks in both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I think if you can't contain Derrick Henry, you're really in trouble. And I thought the key factor for this particular game against Pittsburgh would be to give Derrick Henry 25 carries. You got 26. And that's the key to their winning. You give him that workload, and he can take it, especially in the playoffs right now. That runs everything. And I think when I watched the game, they said the goal was for TJ Watt to focus solely on Derrick Henry. And they say give Lamar whatever he needs, but Lamar ran for 80 plus yards and, and 5.4 yards per clip. So that's pretty astounding. And I just think, I don't know how you stop that. I don't think Buffalo can stop that, but I don't think also the Ravens defense, I don't think they can stop what Buffalo can do. So it's probably going to be a moderate to high scoring game, for both teams. It's just going to be a matter of who turns the ball over. And if anybody turns the ball over, it's probably going to be the team that loses. But if in that situation, I like the Ravens to win that game, but in a close tight matchup.
Right now, folks, the Eagles are driving. They got a penalty, but they're driving towards the Green Bay end zone. They just got a holding penalty. It's 16-10. The Eagles, I think they're around at the 30-yard line of the Packers. It looked like Barkley came out with a little bit of an injury. It's the 27-yard line right now. So it's 2nd and 22 for the Eagles. Definitely in field goal range at the very least. And they had to take a timeout because the clock was running out. So, Sonia, the Bills got a pretty good running back in James Cook, too. He had 120 yards, I think, in the first half. Very underrated running game Buffalo has right now. If you combine Cook and Allen together, that's quite a tandem that they have there. And they have a little running back that made a hell of a catch in the end zone. He's a good third down back, number 26. I don't know what his name is off the top of my head. But what do you think? Do you think this will be an offensive game, or maybe both defenses play out of their mind?
I mean, you have to look at, I was just looking at the stats of Derrick Henry versus Saquon Barkley. They've been extremely comparable the entire season. And I bring Saquon into the equation because that's been the powerhouse running back that everybody's been speaking about because of his record breaking this season. Not only that, though, their carries, their amount of touchdowns are similar. I mean, they're neck and neck, only with Derrick Henry just recently being targeted a little bit more. There was a little bit of time there that we didn't see Baltimore using him as much, and that's probably because of Zay Flowers being targeted more. But now that he's been out and them having to rely more on it's likely, no pun intended, that they're using Henry a little bit more as well. So we knew this is what Derrick Henry has. He brings Lamar Jackson an extra set of legs. Lamar is a runner. And the fact that now he has Derrick Henry there to alleviate a lot of that run game, that's what we're going to look at. And with that being said, this is going to switch from a defensive mode type game battle to an offensive one. Look for a high-powered type offense, no huddle offense. I mean, the read game's got to be on point. It's going to come down to the wire, though, because both of these teams have literally galloped through the season and put up scores where we thought it was absolutely impossible. James Cook looking amazing. I was looking at him earlier today. Their players have played outstanding. For instance, just this season, of course, James being the brother of Dalvin Cook, this is his third season for the Bills. He actually was even ranked with fantasy because he's been scoring so many points this season. Even today's game, he was a pivotal part of that game. He's tied for number 19 in the league. He has 207 carries, 1,009 yards. So he's in the halfway mark of running backs, number 16 in the league. Tied for first for number of touchdowns, though, 16. That's huge. and he averages 4.9 averages yards per carry. So, the Georgia native coming out, blowing things out. I mean, he's still young, 25 years old. I know they say the running back shelf life is pretty short, but he's letting us know, that he's still getting it done. Even today's game, 120 yards, averaging 5 yards per carry and 23 attempts, 1 rushing touchdown. But this is the playoffs. We're still looking at him even producing more in the next matchup.
The Eagles just kicked a field goal. They're up 19-10, folks. So we'll see if the Packers can come back and score some points too here in the fourth quarter. So Buffalo beats Denver 31-10. Josh Allen does his thing. We talked about Cook. Josh Allen 20-26 with 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. And the Buffalo offense in the beginning, Denver kind of was, they were up 7-3. They were playing good. But eventually, as most people thought, Buffalo pulled away. Bo Nix goes 13 for 22, 144 yards and 1 touchdown. And we talked this morning, and I was telling Jack, it's a rookie quarterback. And, when you have a rookie quarterback, I don't care. There's 2 things. First, it's a very highly intense game, right? I mean, this is it. You win or you go home. A lot of pressure. Secondly, when I interviewed Phil Simms of the New York Giants, he said, as a rookie quarterback, you play more games in the NFL. You get tired. You get tired by the end of the season. You're not used to playing 19, 20 games, 21 games, depending on how far you go. So it's a different type of game. Of course, it's more physical, more fast. So I think Bo Nix played okay, but Buffalo, that defensive backfield, me and James have talked about it, Sonia. That defensive backfield of the Buffalo Bills is one of the best in the league, and is going to give Baltimore some problems next week, I feel.
Yeah, with that being said, excuse me, I would have to definitely agree. I think today was a big introduction to the NFL for Bo Nix. I think he has not faced the type of defensive opponent that he has until now. This doesn't have anything to do with their win-loss. This has more of something to do with the way the game looked, the way it was presented, the way it was actually played. The scoreboard is not always indicative of defense or offense, in my opinion, because sometimes you have teams that just luck up with penalties, and as a result, the other team loses or what have you, or poor clock management. But today was a solid look in your face. Welcome to the NFL, Bo Nix. This is what a real defense looks like. There's going to be problems. The Bills are not going away. Let's be clear. I honestly feel like it's going to be them and the Ravens as the last AFC team standing. People don't believe that. They think that, the Chiefs are just a guaranteed trifecta. But let's be clear. The Chiefs are at home relaxing right now. Now, they may be practicing and doing whatever they're doing against each other, but they're not out there actively playing. You made a good point. We're at week number 19 for all intensive purposes for this season. And if Roger Goodell gets his way soon, they're talking about having 19 games for the regular season, and we'll be playing 20 or 21 games by the time the season has worn on. Let's be clear, y'all. Guys are running into each other at full speed with the weight of their entire bodies. The human body cannot sustain but so many blows, pads, whatever included. We're just not built to be savage in that way. But football is a savage sport. The body is going to sustain injuries every time, whether or not you see a player walking off the field or not. They're still hitting these injuries. They're still taking these ice baths because of the aftermath of this. And so, Bo Nix got introduced very well to what that looks like, and especially as a quarterback, you are the more, you're the chess piece out there in the front that is definitely attracting the attention. You're like the bait for the sharks, you're the chum. And so you're going to be the first thing that gets hit before they, before Jaws jumps on the boat and kills everybody else. He's already eating the chum up and you're the chum. So congrats, Bo Nix. But yeah, Buffalo let them know.
Yeah. And James, I was watching the Denver game, and especially in the second half, run first down, run second down, pass third down. it was very unimaginative. I mean, you're playing for the playoffs right now. A little play action pass on first down. You know, why are you just first down, second down? I mean, you're pretty much telling Buffalo what you're going to do. And I thought that for a great offensive coordinator, I didn't like the way he called the game.
Yep.
Look, for as great as Sean Payton is, he's almost as doubly, or if that's a word, arrogant. So he's going to try to do what he thinks that he can do to you, and you can't do anything about it. I mean, as you saw, he's going to try different things. He did the fake punt, and they succeeded on it. I mean, like they did in the Super Bowl with the onside kick. But yeah, they didn't have much to play with. I think just as we talked about, as I mentioned, the Los Angeles Chargers had limitations. This team also had limitations. When you look at the personnel, there's not a lot there. I mean, Cortland Sutton is a good wide receiver. He just hit some incentives at the end of the season, but Mims is going to be good. He's going to be a little bit better, but he's young. And I think this team is just relatively young. And like you said, you mentioned to Jack earlier, having a rookie, it's almost an anomaly for any guy to go into the playoffs and be successful, to be dominant. And you saw it. The rookie moment showed itself in this game. And I mean, he had some spark. He had some different runs and everything, but ultimately they held him to 144 yards and 1 touchdown. So that you can't do anything. You can't win games like that, but if you're not able to throw the ball, and like you said, if you're not able to be creative and not predictable, and they were very predictable. And
I expected more from Sean Payton. I expected more, James. I mean, he's been here before. He's been to the biggest game in the NFL. He's won like this. I was shocked. I'm gonna be honest. To put a rookie quarterback in a position of being a novice, like where it showed so visible, was shocking for a veteran coach. You are not a D'Amico Ryans that is just really, getting acclimated to having a stellar coaching team. You are freaking Sean Payton of the New Orleans Saints, Super Bowl winner with Drew Brees. Like, this is not the example you want to share. And the media are eating him up, Mac. They are eating him up right now. I mean, the fact that he was considered conservative and predictable, those are words that we've never heard associated with Sean Payton. And I think, like Jay Train said, the fact that he's so cocky, it literally got the best of him. I mean, to cause 3 guys in the backfield to throw a swing pass that went for -3, unbelievable. The fake punt, I was like, okay, I see you. But then everything else was just like, meh.
Yeah, and he was yelling at the defensive coordinator on the sideline, too. I don't know what he was yelling at him about, but if I was the defensive coordinator, fire me or not, listen, you scored 7 points so far. Be quiet over there. You ain't got nothing to say as you're calling the plays. I probably would end up getting fired. But
yeah, he was yelling at Vance Joseph. Yes. And everybody was like, dude, you're yelling at him. You're the problem. But the thing, though, Mac, is that's who's going to end up losing their job if anybody loses their job. Not Sean, but Vance Joseph.
I agree. We got Washington at Tampa Bay. The picks were kind of split. Some people went with Washington. I ended up changing my mind and going with Tampa Bay for the experience. Again, a young quarterback put in a position against pretty much a veteran defensive team. Baker Mayfield, who's having a very good year. I think Tampa Bay wins today, but that's about it. I can see Washington with their running game putting up some points. McClure's a good wide receiver. I can see Jay Daniels running a little bit. I just don't see Washington beating Tampa Bay. Sonia, what do you think?
Well, they've got Otten back. I just saw that was released a few hours ago. Todd Bowles released. He's been out. Cade Otten. That's going to be a must-needed weapon for Tampa Bay. I'm looking at their inactives. They got Brewer, Culp, Johnson, Neal, Newman, and Ramirez out. A lot of offensive players that are out, and only looks like 1 special teams and 1 defensive lineman. So that means their defense is pretty much still intact. They haven't listed anybody on that's out. Whereas the Commanders, These guys they just got their third string quarterback out. They got a cornerback, Michael Davis, safety Forrest, one linebacker, named Hampton Osborne. Listen, this is the thing. None of the Commanders' inactive players are actually out due to injury. That's the thing. But the players that they're out, they are not that important. I looked at the stats earlier today before we came on, y'all, and these teams have literally beat and lost to each other the equal amount of times, 13 and 13. They both have. They're so comparable in their stats. It's insane. On the road, excuse me, Washington is 5-3 on the road. At home, the Bucks are 5-4 at home. I mean, it's literally like this thing could go either way. There's a slim margin. I think what was the point spread? Was it 3 points, Matt?
3.5. Washington's getting 3.5.
3.5. This is going to come down to, we hate to say it, it's going to come down to vet versus rookie. And is this going to be Baker of Tampa Bay? Can he stay Baker of Tampa Bay? Or is he going to do a Sam Darnold and bounce back to his Carolina days? That's what's gonna, do this, because home field advantage, we see that doesn't matter. We really see that it's not always rookie versus vet. We saw Tampa Bay come in last year, and that's when, Baker Mayfield started really taking heat as far as his name and catching, the household famousness, because they were able to take Philadelphia out. But they took out a team that had dropped 5 in a row, a struggling Eagles team that had crashed and burned long before the season had finished. This is not the same situation with Washington. Washington has Dan Quinn, former defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, now head coach, and the same head coach that has been coaching the Atlanta Falcons prior, who is used to coaching Tampa Bay, who is used to, coaching against Tampa Bay in the NFC South. Some of those players are still there, like Mike Evans. They're still there. And he's coached against Mayfield as well. And so there's no element of surprise. He knows their run game. He knows how they call their plays. And I think having Dan Quinn as the head coach is going to be what's going to be the difference in this game. It is going to be close because these teams, like we said, got to win to stay in. But it could go either way. But I'm thinking, as the insurance company used to say, the commercial Baker had, Baker at home. I think this is going to be them protecting their turf, looking for a good slugfest. It's a great thing that they got it on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to be a good game, James. I don't know if it helps Quinn coached over and coach Atlanta versus Tampa Bay, and that was years ago. Same players aren't there. Washington's a different team than the Falcons were. I mean, they had Matty Ice and all those guys back then. So, I mean, you're talking a rookie quarterback. You're talking a very young team. So I don't know if that's going to be any kind of has going to have any kind of effect on the game at all. I'm just looking at, Sonia said that it doesn't matter home field advantage. Well, so far, Houston won. They were at home. Baltimore won. They're at home. Philadelphia's winning. They're at home. So now you got Tampa Bay at home.
And Buffalo.
What are your thoughts?
Look, Jaden Daniels is my guy. I'm a huge fan of LSU, and I love anything coming out of LSU, specifically Jaden Daniels, because he won the Heisman too, as well. That's 2 Heisman Trophy winners in the past 5 years. So look, I would like him to win, but numbers just go against him. Rookies, man, it just really goes against. And he's a magician with the ball. But Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey in that central part of the line, the defensive line, have really been. I mean, they showed the Saints like, man, what a wall. They were just knocking them all over the place. And I don't think it's going to be any different with Robinson or Jaden Daniels. I just think that he may escape a little bit. He may get some yards, but he just has McLaurin to throw to, and Robinson is the other runner. And they do RPO, but it's just not going to work against this defense. And then, of course, on the opposite side, flip side, I like the running game for Tampa Bay. They just really, Bucky Irvin and Rasheed White and the other running back number 44, they just been a problem for everybody that they go up against. And you saw the last game, the Saints they really gave them a problem as well. And I think they're going to give teams that don't really have good run defense, and I think Washington is not that great against the run. That's just what they're going to do to control them. And Baker play action with I know what's his name wants to show that he still has something left in the tank. He just got that those incentives with that last play against the Saints in Mike Evans. He's still got to show something that he has something left as well. And so it'll be a close game, but I think maybe by 7, maybe by a touchdown.
Mike Evans just tied Jerry Rice for 11 straight 1,000-yard years. He's got plenty in the tank. A definite Hall of Famer. Listen, I don't think Tampa Bay goes far. If Washington was to win, I don't think they go far either. Washington's more the exciting team, right? That's the underdog. Everybody wants the underdog to win, and I get it. I don't see it happening today. Minnesota goes against the Rams. We talked about this earlier. To me, as I said on the Big Football Show, I just like Stafford better than I like Darnold. I like the receiving core of the Rams as much as I like the receiving core of the Vikings. It comes down to defense. Minnesota turns the ball over a lot on defense. The Rams defense is underrated, Sonia. I mean, this is to me, this is going to be the best game of the week. I think Minnesota and the Rams are going to come down to maybe a field goal at the end.
That's so hard to call because, going in, you're like, okay, 2 weeks ago, in my mind, I'm like, okay, NFC North versus the Eagles, basically. That's how I've been feeling, like a lot of us, most of the season. But then we saw Sam Darnold last week, and it was like, whoa, pump your brakes. Sam, what is going on? This is the wrong time of year to be behaving this way. You've worked so hard. You're almost at the finish line. Why would you throw this many interceptions? What is happening? I want to go with the Vikings. It's going to come down to who manages this clock. I keep saying that because I feel like some teams that are less powered offensively or more unsure of themselves in the face of very competitive teams, they tend to try to hold on to the ball. And I think that's going to be the mental thing that they're going to have to go, going forward. I mean, just looking at like some numbers, you guys know how I'm about this, about stats and what have you. The Vikings are coming into this situation just not as stellar. I mean, a lot of people have started to step back on their purview about the Vikings after they saw Sam Darnold's performance last week. I mean, then you got people that are ruled out or still questionable for whether or not they're going to be playing. Then you got the fiasco off the field with the wide receiver getting this issue that is now being charged. I mean, he's still supposed to be playing, but that's still out there, and that's still a very serious offense. And go figure, he's from Georgia. That just seems to be what these players do.
Which one is this?
This is the Rams player he's got a DUI where somebody it's a whole situation that they basically decided to charge him. It's a misdemeanor, but nonetheless, it's just one of those situations that's it's too late for this off-field stuff. Y'all know I always talk about that. The off-field stuff is always needs to stay exactly where it is. Then you got Kupp and of course Nakua are back from a couple of injuries that they've had early, a little bit mid-season. The last time they met up, it was a close score. I mean, 10 points is not a lot, but it is 30-20 with their last matchup. And when you look at their total meetings, they've met 48 times, 27-19. This game could go either way. That's their all seasons. But their largest victory was in 67 when the Rams won 39-3. We're not going to see that this time. We're just not going to see that. And I feel like they're actually this dropped a little bit now, Mac. It's now negative 2.5. Excuse me, 2.5 is the point spread now. Okay. These things kind of change as we get closer to kickoff and they start getting the injury report and what have you. But I don't know. I think it's literally going to depend on their leader. It's going to depend on what Sam Darnold does. Then they got Jordan Addison, of course. They're going to be trying to, depend on him. Cam Akers, let's not forget, Cam is a major part of that offense. Bradbury, as well as Blake Brandel and Henry Bird. And, they're going to be the weapons that surround him. They're going to be the ones that either strengthen or weaken what they already have going on. So when you look at the Rams coming into the gunslinger, Matt Stafford, who's already been on championship caliber, that's going to be huge for them, because it's just like, all right, what do you have to do? Minnesota is known to have only 276 net yards, whereas the Rams have been putting up 386 yards like average per game. They've been putting up big yards every single game. But they've also been close in penalties. They like to run the clock about 7 minutes differential between the both of them. So like I said, that's what it's going to probably come down to. They're so comparable, and even their penalties is on like 3 apart, that it's going to come down to what I said, how much can Sam Darnold keep the ball, and how much can those pieces around him, keep Matt Stafford and all those folks out there who are not caring about traveling to the desert off the field.
Well, there you go. The Eagles are up 22-10. There's 3:02 left in the game. There's a timeout on the field. I guess Packer just got hurt. So, 3 minutes left. They have to get a touchdown on this drive to even have a chance. Maybe they climb it back in this game. So, we'll see what happens with.
And Jordan Love's already thrown 2 interceptions.
Yes.
Love hurts. Love hurts.
The song played in the commercial.
What?
Yeah, I should have texted you, but and they talked about it at halftime. Love hurts.
Love hurts. They've been listening to me.
They listen to you. That's what I think it was.
A great blues song from the 70s. I remember. Yeah. So James, we talked about the players. We talked on both the Rams and the Vikings. You got 2 coaches and 2 coordinators too. One coordinator from Minnesota may be out of there next year, but the head coach is young and good, and then of course you got the Rams coach that's been there for a while, been to a Super Bowl. Do you talk about? Jack loves talking about the coaches. Jack, we could talk a whole program about who's the best coach. What do you think about the Rams coaches versus the Minnesota coaches?
Yeah, I always mention the coaches because I think it's a master. Look, you have a chessboard and you got the guy playing. You have pawns, rooks, bishops, queens, kings, knights, all these pieces, but then you got the person, the mastermind, the grandmaster behind the scene. And to me, Sean McVay is one of the best coaches out there right now. He's one of the best coaches. Every time you hear somebody talking about it, it's somebody coming out. A new coach is coming out. They're coming out either the Kyle Shanahan tree, or they're coming out of the Sean McVay tree. But let's not get it twisted. If you look at what Kevin O'Connell is doing in Minnesota, he's a formidable opponent as well. Again, I had them at the bottom of the list at the beginning of the season. I'm wrong, totally wrong, because they look like they're great. Even though Sam Darnold had a little bit of a regression against probably the best team in the NFC in Detroit, I still think there's opportunity for them to win in Arizona. And I think that that defense that they have under Brian Flores, another coordinator, coaching matters. I think that they have an opportunity now, which was shown that they might have a little weakness against fast running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs was running all over him, but that speed is a little bit different with the Rams with Kyron Williams. He's not as fast. He's elusive. He's quick, but he's not as fast as Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think they should be able to contain him, and it's going to depend on what Matthew Stafford does with his receiving core. And I think defensively, Minnesota is still the team to beat, and I think they're going to win, but they're probably going to win maybe about 10 points. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, James.
I still think the Rams don't have enough. To me, they're one of the teams that don't have enough personnel. But this is a coach that's working with whatever he has. I think Matthew Stafford's great. I think Cooper Kupp, he's getting up in age. And Puka Nacua is a great receiver. And they have a good running back. But they're going to have limitations against a standout elite defense like Minnesota's.
I think it's interesting to note, Mac, that O'Connell is actually considered a McVay disciple, kind of like when student becomes teacher. He served as the offensive coordinator under McVay with the Rams, and so they have that similar tie. And he actually credits McVay for his coaching philosophy. McVay has only been winning more games, like a higher winning percentage, just because he's been, a head coach longer. But McVay has, at this date, of course, led the Rams to more playoffs appearances and Super Bowl victories than O'Connell, because O'Connell is still relatively new. But those two they go way back. The performance with the Vikings is largely attributed because of his experience under McVay. And that's something to be said, especially because McVay, if he's not still, was one of the youngest coaches. He was the league's youngest coach a couple of years ago. I don't know if he still is or not. But that's definitely something to note, that that they are super paralleled because of their past experiences together.
I think the scariest thing about what happened to Minnesota last week is Detroit shut them out, 31-3, and Detroit's defense is kind of banged up. I mean, they're getting players back, but they're banged up, and they gave up 31 points. So, I mean, listen, Minnesota's defense might be great, all it is, but they didn't stop Detroit, that's for sure. Now, mind you, Detroit's got one of the best offenses in the league. I just don't know. I still like the Rams, but Minnesota can win this game. There's no doubt about that. So let's get into the Patriots hiring Mike Vrabel. I mentioned this on the show to Jack, and I said, well, Mayo got 1 year. No terrible roster. It was part of his contract. He played there for a lot of years, just like Vrabel did. And they didn't give him a shot. Now, if Vrabel's going in there, he's not just going to get 1 year. The man's going to get a 3-year contract or whatever to build this. And I said, I'm not saying that this is what it is, but it opens the door. Black guy, first year, gets fired. White guy comes in, gets 3 years. Now Jack's like, I'm not saying that's what Robert Kraft thinks, but it does open that door for somebody to say, hey, here's this black guy, and you're only giving him a year, and now you go and get who you wanted to begin with anyway, Mike Vrabel, who's a white guy, and now you're going to give him 3 years. They both played football for the same team. Get your thoughts on that, guys.
I just think, for me, whereas sometimes it is clearly race, I think this is not one of those situations that's the case. Look at Vrabel's resume, or as they say, curriculum vitae, when you are a professional. Not only did he play with the Patriots from 2001 to 2008 and was an integral member of the Super Bowl championship team, so he was there when they were winning. He served as a coach for Tennessee from 2018 to 2023, so he has more coaching experience in the league. He had 54-45 record regular season and led the Titans to an AFC championship game in 2019. He's also the Associated Press NFL Coach of the Year as recent as 2021. And Mayo was 4-13. He only had one season with the Patriots. In my opinion, he did not have the amount of time to develop his own experience, to show his proof. And the Patriots just were not in a position to continue on to tolerate, for lack of a better word, his learning curve, because they are in a dire situation. They were in a dire situation before he got there. They started losing with Belichick there, and they just had to move on. They also had interviewed defensive Lions coordinator, of course, we talked about it this morning, Ben Johnson, and even Byron Leftwich from Tampa Bay, the offensive coordinator, as well as Pep Hamilton for the Texans. These Patriots are not playing around. They're trying to rebuild right away. There's a short window between the playoffs and next season. It looks like it's not, but it's very short. when you're talking about bringing new people in and getting everybody acclimated. Vrabel is identified as most of the Patriot from his playing career with them. Even with the Steelers, he played with them. He played with the Chiefs, and he's never served in New England as a coach. And he's from the Ohio State. He worked with linebackers there. I mean, he spent 3 seasons on the college level, on the collegiate level. That's going to be important for bringing in players from the draft. What does Mayo have from all of that? And the final nail, he's in the freaking Patriots Hall of Fame as of 2023. This dude is somebody they've been waiting on to become available, and they just went ahead and, Belichick's pick was Mayo. They honored Belichick by that because of his long tenure in New England. They went ahead and said, okay, we'll give you that because you're on your way out, because you've been with the Patriots for 52 years. So we'll let you have that. And now we've honored that, and now it's time to get to business. So it's about the stats. It's not about the other S, which is skin color. It's about the stats.
Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of experience there with Vrabel. But there's a lot of coaches that have taken over, head coaches that haven't had a lot of experience that have become successful. The Texans head coach over there in his second year, he's in the playoffs again and just beat the Chargers, James. So, I mean, I get it. I'm just saying, if you want Vrabel, and I know they could have, where was Vrabel last year? I mean, if you're going to do it, do it. I mean, I don't care about any word you gave Bill Belichick or what was in the contract. I mean, who cares? If you want the man, go get him right away. Why play games with this guy's head?
I agree with what Sonia and Jack says about not being raced, but ultimately what matters is what you said. The optics look horrible. It's horrible. You can't get around that. The fact that not just him, but Antonio Pierce. These are 1-year guys. And Captain Jack wanted to say it was a year and a half. It's still not enough time to do anything, especially with the personnel that you have. Look, you're not a dysfunctional organization with the New England Patriots. You're coming off 6 championships in a 20-year span. That's incredible. And you've been to 11 Super Bowls or something like that, some astronomical number, which is crazy. And you take one of your guys, one of your own guys, hire him. He doesn't do well, but I mean, he's put in a situation where he's playing with very limited resources. He's coaching with limited resources, and he has no experience at coaching. But you hired him. Why not give him the opportunity to have at least 2 years? And I know why, because you wanted Vrabel in because of Vrabel's success that he had with the Titans. But it still looks bad. It's not going to look good. And we want to say, hey, let's stop pulling race cards. Let's stop saying this. Fine, we can do that if it doesn't look bad like this. We should. I'm not going to pull a race card here, but I'm not going to be mad at anybody that does, because it doesn't look good here at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
the optics are true. It doesn't look good, but what is the remedy? We see it in every situation. It's unfortunate. And, of course, J-Train, you and I are minorities. We've seen it even in educational systems. You don't even have to be out there competing for anything. We see it as much as from the time kids are small, they're automatically separated. It is a time where people are not conscious of their systemic biases against other people. And it's so conditioned that it's not even known. It just goes okay, yeah. I just sat here and racked up all the stats and said, well, maybe it's this. Maybe it's not. Maybe I could see, why did you give him 1 year? He needed another year. And that's kind of how I started off saying it, whereas he should have gotten another year. But then you look at some situations that are similar. You may have a happy-go-lucky owner like David Tepper is in Carolina. He's off with your head with everybody down there. He doesn't care, male, female, ethnicity, whatever. You get 1 year, 18 months, and you might even get 6 weeks. You're out the door. But with the Patriots, they know better.
I know Aaron Glenn said his loyalty means something. Now, Aaron Glenn never played for the Patriots. Of course, he's in line for the job. And when all said and done, I think Aaron Glenn gets the Jets head coaching job. Rex Ryan doesn't have a shot, but I believe Aaron Glenn gets that position, and he played for the Jets. But just by him saying loyalty means something, and I think that's what he was talking about in Mayo's case. That's why he didn't even want to bother interviewing with the Patriots. The way they treated Mayo. So we talked a little bit about Tom Brady this morning. He's doing the game today. Announcer, owner, conflict of interest. We all kind of agree he should pick one or the other, either be an owner or be a announcer. I think eventually the NFL has to step in, especially if he's going to be involved in the draft and picking a head coach. Working with the quarterbacks, I think they have to. Again, we're talking at least optics. Maybe nothing happens behind the scenes, but there sure is possibilities of that, guys.
Absolutely. I mean, this is Tom Brady. He's not coming in with the window glass clean track record anyway. He has a lot of tawdry situations that we all are aware of when he was playing with New England. Some of them may not have been directly his fault, but situations where he was asked to turn over his cell phone and he wouldn't. That looks very squeamish. But he's got the money to buy himself into ownership. Okay, go ahead, that's fine. But it's going to come down to how involved he wants to be. And just like you said, Mac, he's not going to be, one of these minority owners that really wants to stay minority involved. He's going to want to be more kind of in between. He can't be majority, but he's going to be as close to it as he possibly can be without, being called majority and being called into question. The game he's calling today, I didn't even feel the energy. It almost was kind of like sometimes you hear him a little more gassed up. Today it was a little bit more reserved. I don't know if it's because he knows people are talking about this, because it is everywhere, that they're like, hold on, sir. This is going to be your first draft. You've already been told, don't be here, don't be here, don't be here. But you're expected to be reporting on these teams that you're supposed to have done no research on them. It's going to be something the league is going to have to step in, because even though they've already established all these boundaries, everybody around us, and I think I told you guys this morning, this is a spider web waiting to be torn. Not just a thin line, but a spider web. Spider webs are very thin. It takes just a little hint of pressure and the web is torn. And this is the situation that Tom is not going to step away. He's too competitive. He's going to have to be told, this is where we draw the line.
We talked about Mike Tomlin. We all pretty much say he might be done over there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see what happens. Of course, he would have to walk away. Haven't heard nothing about Mike McCarthy in the last week or two. Do you think Dallas is trying to work out a contract for him now, since he will be a free agent? I think at the end of this week. I think he's a free agent starting next week. Does Jerry Jones offer him at the last minute his job and some money, or does
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it because, look, what did he do with the two players that he gave major contracts to? He waited to the last minute to give them their money. But at the end of the day, they got paid. Mike McCarthy had 12 and 5 seasons. There's not a lot of coaches out there that's giving you that much consistency. Why are you going to drop somebody like that? And who are you going to grab? I mean, you can grab a new guy that's unproven. You can grab one of these younger players that might be more innovative. But to me, Mike McCarthy is no different than Sean Payton. They both have one championship. They both have a lot of wins, and they've been successful. But that's about it. That's just about it. So, I mean, I'm going to keep Mike McCarthy if I'm smart, if I'm Jerry Jones, until somebody that's just like, who else is out there? Unlike Sean McVay, if he decided to say, you know what, I don't want to work for LA anymore. I want to go down to Dallas and get down, go with them. That's or Shanahan. If Shanahan's done in San Francisco, that's who I bring in. I let Mike McCarthy go. I bring Shanahan in. But even saying that, Shanahan hasn't won a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy has.
I don't trust that as much. I'm going to be honest, Mac. Only because of how we saw Jerry Jones just allow Cooper Rush to be benched so that they could save this little muesli money. When I saw that, and then I saw where he was blocking McCarthy from talking to the Bears, you have Ben Johnson and all these offensive coordinators that are in the playoffs, and they're not blocked from talking to other teams about being their head coaches. What makes Jerry Jones so unique with this now regular season winning Dallas team, and that's not even really winning, block McCarthy from going to Chicago? I think it's a control factor. I'm not going to be surprised if McCarthy is still out. They still got Pete Carroll out there. His name's been circulating. Steve Wilkes' name is starting to be circulated again. There's plenty of people out there that can come in and get you to 12-5. I mean, heck, Steve Wilkes got his team to the Super Bowl last year with the 49ers defensive coordinator. And Pete Carroll's definitely a Super Bowl winner. So the talent is out there. I would hate to think that Jerry was this nasty that he would block Mike McCarthy to the very end. But I almost want to guarantee y'all when we talk next week, I'm going to be like I told y'all, McCarthy's going to be out the door.
So the Eagles did end up winning 22-10. Saquon gets over 100 yards, but mainly it was all field goals at the end that the Eagles kicked to beat, of course, beat the Green Bay Packers. They will play, I think. Don't they play the winner of Tampa Bay and Washington? Is that right?
They're number 2, so they get
They would get Washington.
The number one team gets the worst team. So
right, so they would get Washington.
Yeah,
they would get Washington. Well, no, I'm talking about NFC. So the Eagles would get Tampa Bay, right? Yeah. Because Washington got
a matchup.
Minnesota is what is Minnesota 5th? Are they 5th?
They're playing the Rams first.
No, I'm saying, but Minnesota's the 5th seed, right?
True.
Yeah. So if Minnesota beats the Rams are 4th. I believe. No, the Rams are 3rd. Or they 3rd? No, Rams are 4th, right?
Yeah.
Which
Minnesota's a wild card. Washington's a wild card.
Yeah. So Washington is 6th, I believe, and number 7 was Green Bay, right? They went out.
And they're gone, right?
So Detroit will get the 6th seed, or if the 6th seed wins tonight.
Yeah, Detroit. Okay. Yeah, if that's whoever's the winner out of this Commanders Tampa Bay game is who Detroit. I think it's so hard to figure this stuff out once you come this time of the season.
The Eagles will play the stronger seed, versus the weaker seed. The weaker seed will be going to Detroit.
Yeah. So whoever wins this Minnesota Rams game is going to be playing the number 1 seed, looks like, and the Washington Tampa Bay winner is going to be playing the Eagles. That's what it looks like. Oh, Mac bounced out on us.
Well, we got 2 minutes.
I know, right? And then for the AFC, J-Train, I guess we'll do like we've been doing. You'll have the winner of, Houston will be playing Kansas City for the AFC, and then the Ravens will be playing Buffalo. That's going to be the next matchup.
Right.
So, yeah. The crazy thing is I don't even know how we can end this show because neither one of us have permission. Like, there's no option on here to end this.
Yeah, because Miss Linda is
Yep. So I don't know, guys. Like, we'll stay on here and try to get them to come back on because there's no end button. Oh, here he comes back. Here he is.
Yes. I mean, you blew my mind. I just you blew my computer's mind, and I just wanted right off there with all these playoff predictions here. Anyway,
we went folks, to the playoffs while you were out.
Yes. So big game coming up next, and of course tomorrow night's game, folks. Thanks for joining us on the NFL Download. We love having you on. We'll see you next week. As I said, it's getting closer and closer to the NFL. I don't know. Maybe we'll do like an NBA download or something, or maybe I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow on the Mac and Jack show. Sonia and James. Well, I know Sonia will be back with Permanent Proper during the week. James will be also on Sonia's show or wherever else he I think he should start his own show, James. I think he should
I've been
start your
saying
own.
that.
Yes. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm trying to work on that.
All right, folks, have a great one. We'll see you soon.